Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Hi, I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Well, yes, my friends, how deep does the rabbit hole really go? Well, that's what we're here to discover. Dedicated to the only serious choice, the gospel of Jesus Christ, the music, and the spoken word. You're watching Light Source Victory Television live with me, your host, Pastor Nyesha McCauley, inviting you to sit back and relax for the next 8 minutes or so as we continue our journey into the life-changing, life-giving, everlasting word of the Most High God. My friends, it's time for Bible study. Of course, it is my Bible study time that I spend with you. We try and do it each and every Sunday through Thursday right here on AccessTV.org, on Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other social media, Google+, other social media around the world. We broadcast live from the greatest city on earth, Hartford, Connecticut, New England's rising star. So get on the phone, call up friends and family, tell them to log on, tune in, send out emails, texts, and all those other things. Instant messages. Tell them it's time for Bible study. Stick and stay. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah. All right, my friends, how are you doing today? I am doing exceedingly abundantly, totally, thoroughly well, from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, to a radius that includes you by 3.5 billion light years. Once again, I am left speechless. This whole issue with the police is somewhat challenging. Let's just say that. And it's not really to do with the police. It's more to do with the process, and most certainly with these grand juries. But more troubling than all of that are the comments that are being made in the talk radio sphere by folks who wouldn't have a clue of what it is to be in a situation where you have to conduct yourself as though you are in occupied territory. It's sort of like being, I guess, parents of children where U.S. troops are occupied, and you have to instruct your children on how to conduct themselves as they go to and fro, how to approach the soldiers, because they could wind up getting shot. Okay? And the whole notion that when the police officer tells you anything, that you have to go into instant compliance for fear of your life is ridiculous, because that's not how it should be. I mean, you should be able to disagree and talk back to the police officer. He's the law enforcement officer. You were innocent until proven guilty. He doesn't know whether you're innocent or not unless he sees you actually commit a crime. Other than that, you're a suspect. And so you should be treated like a citizen who has rights and privileges, not like you're the
under occupation. And if you speak or look the wrong way, it could wind up getting you killed. Okay. And so it's amazing to hear individuals who have the gift of privilege um, weigh in on what it is like to live without it. I'm not going to belabor this point because we're going to have Bible study, but I'll simply use myself as an example. Most people see me as Pastor Stan. I'm aware of that. Subsequently, I can count the number of people who have sworn in my presence over the last 25 years. I can count the number of people who have a cuss fest in my presence. Some people of late don't know that I'm a clergyman, so they'll use a little dicey language. But most people do know. Now, I know those people swear. I've heard them swear when they didn't know I was around. But whenever I'm around, they don't swear. So it would be like me saying, well, people don't swear. I mean, that's not the language that people use. No, see, people treat me differently because they see me as Pastor Stan. It is what it is. And so there's a certain amount of privilege afforded to you. If I go to a church, they treat me like, you come and sit up on the rostrum. Most people can't walk into church and sit down up on the rostrum on the pulpit area. It just doesn't happen like that. Clergy has certain privileges, okay, that are afforded to them because of privilege. Now, there are certain individuals in the United States of America that have privilege, okay, born with it. And it is what it is. It's not a crime. It's not bad. It's not good. It just is what it is. That said, when you don't have that kind of privilege, you can't speak like you know what you're talking about, because you generally don't. I'd like me talk about what it's like to give birth, what labor pains are like, and me trying to compare it to anything. My anatomy is not structured. So my anatomy is not structured such that I can weigh in on what it's like to give birth, because I'm a man. I don't know, so I keep my mouth shut. All right, but the it's just ridiculous. One talk show host today blamed taxes on the man being choked to death. If taxes in New York weren't so high, people wouldn't be forced to buy cigarettes individually. They could afford to buy a pack of cigarettes instead of buying singular cigarettes. And that way, there wouldn't have been black market sales of cigarettes on the street. And therefore, he wouldn't have been breaking the law and he wouldn't have been choked. So it's not the police fault that he choked, was suffocated. All right. But it was the fact of high taxes. That's one of it goes way beyond ridiculous. It's just plain stupid. I refuse to believe that the talk show host is that dumb. He can't be that dumb and be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So he's either doing it for the sake of conversation, as someone who's paid to gen up talk, or he really is that dumb. He has not a clue on what Lucy's are. He doesn't have a clue. He doesn't understand the cultural nuances of being able to go in and buy them. I mean, it's so absurd listening to these people carry on and talk about stuff. They don't know what they're talking about, and they're talking to an audience that doesn't know. And then you listen, and they make comments like African Americans have been protected more than anyone else because of the police. Okay. So that's like saying that this doctor has saved several hundred people's lives, except for the two he killed when he was doing the surgery and forgot to leave the scalpel in them. Okay. We're not talking about the people he saved. We're talking about the mistake he made. So what's the recompense for the mistake? When coaches lose a Super Bowl, or when coaches have a losing season and their team doesn't win anything, no one cares about how good a coaching job they did until this monumental failure. They get rid of them. But we don't demand the same from other people, such as police officers. Now, I think that without cops, we would all be in big, big trouble. We'd all be in trouble without firemen. The firefighters and police officers, that's not like the most dangerous job in the world. There are other jobs that are dangerous. Changing spent nuclear rods at the power plant are dangerous. Okay, working in a coal mine is dangerous. Okay, cleaning out septic tanks, picking up the trash is a dangerous job. The exposure to disease, there's all kinds of dangerous jobs. And people that apply for them obviously exercise their free will to work at them. Do police officers have a right to come home at the end of the day? Most certainly they do. But so do citizens have a right to go home, particularly if they are not guilty of anything, but just suspects. The police are not sacrosanct. They work for the citizenry. They're there to protect and serve everybody. But when you treat a particular group of individuals as though those individuals are the ones that you have to protect everyone else from, there's a problem. There's a problem. Because police officers would not be allowed to operate like that in Simsbury, in Kent, or Reading. They wouldn't be able to operate like that down on the main line in Philadelphia or Chestnut Hill in Philly. Because people wouldn't put up with it. Okay? So we're not talking about the entire police force in the United States. We're talking about individual police officers who are either gone rogue or just happen to have a bad day and made a mistake. Pilot has a bad day, makes a mistake on a check ride. He doesn't ever fly his plane again. He's grounded. To whom much is given, much is required, and police are given an awful lot. So much is required of them. It's really that simple. And so the citizens are not out of line in having an expectation that the law enforcement officers that they pay to provide protection and service in the community do so with a level of respect and dignity for the citizens that they're there to protect and serve. Because one black man is guilty of a crime does not mean that all are suspect of the crime. So treat everybody like everyone's innocent until you fed out, root out, weed out whoever it is guilty. And if these types of attitudes were better implemented, then I think we would have better relationships between the citizens and the police. The police are employees of the city. I hold them in the same regard as I hold sanitation workers. They're all necessary to make the city function. There are no big I's and little U's. Everyone is important. Because if the sanitation department goes on strike, we got a problem. If the snow plow removal people go on strike, we have a problem. If the police department goes on strike, we have a problem. If the fire department goes on strike, we have a problem. If the teachers go on strike, we have a problem. If the citizens refuse to pay their taxes, we have a problem. Okay, so everyone is necessary. Everybody. But there has to be a level of accountability and responsibility. And police officers have to be accountable to somebody. They have to be accountable to someone other than themselves. And when they make mistakes, they have to ante up and pay the price, just like everyone else in society. Teacher makes a mistake, falls in love with some kid, and she does something she shouldn't do. Now she's in jail, okay, because she made a mistake. But we hold teachers to high levels of accountability. Clergy person finds his little hands inside boys' pants and little girls' pants. That we hold clergy to a higher standard than that. So they have to give recompense. Elected officials embezzle, cheat, lie on the radio. Then guess what? We expect better than that from our elected officials, so they go to prison. The police are no different. So if you equip somebody with a baseball bat, an electrifying tase gun, and a fire shooting pistol, well, guess what? They should be held to a level of accountability that when a firearm is discharged, guess what? They have to give an account. And if there's a perceived notion that firearm was discharged in an unlawful manner or somebody was tased in an unlawful way, the level of guilt, I believe, ought to go before court. That doesn't mean he's going to go to jail. It would seem to me if there isn't enough evidence for him to go to court, then give him deference and let him have a day in court. I don't care how much it costs. And since there isn't enough evidence to convict him, then what's the big deal? That means that, guess what? He won't get convicted. Oh, what about the cost? Well, what about the cost? Someone is dead. You don't think that person that died is owed a certain level of investigation? Well, he had no business stealing cigarettes. He didn't have no business stealing anything. People steal all kinds of stuff all day long. Cops steal. Okay, nothing said about the road cops in Hartford or anywhere else for that matter that are shaking down drug dealers, taking their money and taking it to one side of town and using dirty drug money to go on vacation. No one said anything about that. That stuff goes on. Okay, so let's not pretend like the police officers are some sort of sainthood, knighted on high by the queen and are void of any wrongdoing. No different than teachers or garbage men or the public works department or the mayor's office or city council or myself, anybody. Everyone makes mistakes. Everybody falls short. There's no special class of people that are immune from scrutiny and accountability, particularly when you've been given much. The alternative to being accountable is finding another line of work. Lots of people would like to fly F-16 aircraft, but guess what? If you don't weigh a certain amount, if you can't lift such and such a weight, you can't fly the plane. How many of our police officers in Hartford will qualify to be FBI agents? How many FBI agents will qualify to be on the Secret Service presidential detail? And of the people on the presidential detail, how many of them will qualify to become Navy SEALs? Just because you want to do something does not mean that you somehow have a right to it. It is a job which is discharged in service to the people whom have elected representatives and a mayor who signs the contract for the union that has bargained on behalf of the employees. And is the job dangerous? Yes. Are we appreciative and great and have a level of gratitude that the individuals take on the burden of becoming police officers? Yes, we are. Wouldn't want it any other way. But that does not give folk a pass to have a dictatorial and wrong attitude. If you're afraid of going home at night as a police officer, then you're in the wrong line of work, because policing ought not be one of dictatorial, authoritarian rule, because without the community, you cannot do effective policing. That's called occupation. The military occupies. Police work with the community to bring about justice and fairness as we make sure that those that break the rules are brought to justice and before a court where the court can dispense to them proper judgment. But you don't shoot someone because he looks threatening and he is saying no. And refuses to come quietly. There's other ways to get people to comply without tasing them, because you don't feel like doing the hard work of negotiating and talking to them. There's plenty of police officers that know how to do this. Those are the kinds of police officers that we want on our police department. And for those who wonder what right I have to make such demands, I'm a constituent. That's the only title that matters in our representative republic, constituent, because the constituents are the ones that elect the rest of these people to represent and work for us. We are the taxpayers. We're the ones that they take the money from and then dole it out up there on Capitol Hill. It's our money. And we spend it well and we get a good product in return. But when products are defective, whether they're airbags or brakes, we expect them to be repaired, fixed, so they operate correctly. People should not be afraid. They ought not be afraid of the police. They should have a level of respect for the police, not fear. And the historical relationship, by the way, between African Americans and police in this country is long. And it is not necessarily a good one. So those are some of the realities that need to be taken into consideration. And I don't think you need to spend tons of money and tons of time training people to be understanding with diversity training and all this, that, and the third. What you need is to have the right people on the job to begin with. If you're afraid to teach the children in Hartford, then let us relieve you of that burden and you can go somewhere else and teach. If you are afraid of the citizens of Hartford, if there's gorillas in the midst and you're scared to death that they're going to jump you in the night, then go somewhere else and be a police officer. And in my never to be humble opinion, that's the attitude that we need to have as citizens. Now, the elected officials may not be in a place that they can exercise that kind of attitude, but then they're there to represent everybody in the city. We, on the other hand, are a little bit different. We're constituents and we can exercise whatever attitude we actually have. Because we don't need the police union to put us in office. We're already in office, the office of constituent. And the police department works for us. We shouldn't have to march, protest, walk around with hands up in the air to make a point. We should simply be able to get on the phone, call up your state representative. I talked to mine today. Call up your city council people. I'm going to go talk to them on Monday. Call up your mayor and have them get in touch with the police. You see, the police chief is not I didn't hire him. The police chief works for the mayor. The mayor is there to he works for us. Now, some might contend that he and some of the other people work for the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party was elected to represent the people, or the Republican Party, or the Working Families Party. They're not there for their own agenda. They're there for the agenda of the people. Or we get someone else to do the job. So while all of you all are out there in outrage and uproar and all upset, do something with it that's going to matter besides walking around with your hands in the air. Because all the protests that have happened to this day have brought us where we are. And where are we? Folks is being shot down like dogs. So you all need to understand that protesting isn't going to change anything. What changes stuff is you being directly involved in the goings on of your government. That's what participatory democracy is all about. It requires your involvement. It requires you. You cannot let go of your responsibility of hands-on as it relates to the governing process in the city and town in which you live. Wherever it is that you live in the United States. I happen to live in Hartford, but we have viewers all over the world. So wherever you live in the United States, I can't speak to other countries, but I can speak as it relates to the United States, as our government works. It works best when you're involved. All politics, as Arjo Wentz says, is local. It's all local because it's where you live. Politics is where you live. I don't live in Ferguson. I live in Hartford. I don't want Hartford to ever have a Ferguson moment. We had our Ferguson moment back in the 60s. We don't need another Ferguson moment. What we need is responsible citizens who are actively engaged in their government. So that means you go to city council meetings. That means you go to PTO meetings. It means you go to Board of Education meetings. It means you attend your NRZ meetings. You go to all of the community meetings where the policies are made that are implemented as it relates to things that go on in your community. I'm just turning into a civics lesson. Not quite what I had in mind tonight, but we are where we are. All right. So school policy, that happens at Board of Ed meetings. If there's something you don't like going on in your school, call up the Board of Education. Attend the Board of Ed meetings. Speak publicly when they give you the opportunity. Okay. Write letters to them. Send in letters to the editor. Do op-eds. Send it. Write a letter and have it published in the local newspaper so people can hear what it is that you have to say. Go to a TV show at your local public access station or something that folks hear what it is that you have to say. Go organize your neighbors and community people. Knock on doors. Okay. But it requires you to participate. When you have corruption in government, it's because the citizens are sitting by quietly. All right. Where there is accountability and oversight, there is less corrupt. There's never going to be no corruption, but there is less corruption. The system operates more efficiently and more effectively because there are more people involved causing those that are in the function of the government operational side, whether it's policy or executing the policies, to be accountable. Because at the end of the day, the people that run for office actually like being in office. They like being in the positions that they're in. And the only way they can get there is if you elect them. All right. So do your part. Amen. Amen. That's my message for tonight. A little pastoral message from the pulpit of Pastor Stan. It's time for you Christians to start coming out of the closet. Everyone can come out of the closet except church folks. Stop being ashamed of being who you are in Jesus Christ and start standing boldly on the life-changing, life-saving, everlasting word of the Most High God. As a citizen of the city of Hartford, Connecticut, you have a voice. You go down and you exercise that voice. Start speaking up. Start demanding better, and you'll get better. Raise the bar, and people will jump higher to get over it. Very, 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 very simple. There's nothing complicated about that. Okay? Teachers contract, teachers union, and the police department coming up in 2016. I know the police are coming up in 2016. I think the teachers as well. But the people who put those contracts together, it's all ultimately signed off by the mayor, the police and fire department. The teachers were signed off by the Board of Education. But remember, folks, those people work for you. And the contract negotiations are all done behind closed doors. But at the end of the day, it's done for you. And if the teachers feel that the bar is raised too high for our children, then guess what? We need a better grade of teacher, better grade of cop, better grade of public officials, better grade of registrars. That's already at the top of the list, right? To hold these people accountable for their own safety and their own good. That's my rant for the night. You all stay strong in the faith and remember Jesus loves you, and so do I. Good night.
Because there is no image of Jesus on the street. Ask yourself, are you to blame? Are you sure to love? Are you standing on a rock or sinking sand? Are you chasing those dreams? What you really believe? Are you serious about the life you're living? There's so much to do in so little time. Are you serious? Are you representing, telling someone else about this love? Now is the time. Make up your mind to let your light shine in your There's so much to do in so little time.
Diamond Ruff is a brilliant 28-year-old con man with swag, whose childhood was robbed by violence and prejudice. With a passion for the arts, Diamond plans the crime of a lifetime. Diamond's well-crafted plan ends in tragedy and in his imprisonment. Is this the end for Diamond? Does a modern-day Martin Luther King Jr. hold the key to Diamond's overcoming life's challenges and his greatest enemy, himself?
I'm attorney Jeffrey Dressler. No matter how well you prepare, accidents happen. When they do, call me. 24/7, 1122.